we will introduce Rachel Berger. What a joy it is to have Rachel with us. We are so excited to have her today. She is a literacy advocate, has helped write law as well as assist government leaders in the literacy space. She's the executive director and founding member of Decoding Dyslexia Minnesota, and she's also an assistive technology expert within dyslexia and learning differences for Microsoft. And so she's going to share with us today some really great tools of how we can help all our learners. These are great tools that don't just help kids with learning differences, they help adults with learning differences, and they just make everybody's life a little bit easier. So I'm excited to hear from Rachel. Thanks, Rachel.
Right. Well, thanks, Melissa. I'm really excited to be with all of you today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get started. I'm going to give you a little bit of a backdrop in PowerPoint before we go into mainly demonstration mode today. So we won't be doing like a full-on PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to be doing hands-on demonstration for you. I do move at a kind of a brisk pace. And so what I'm going to say is that while I might be moving quickly, if a question pops up on your mind, make sure to just enter it in the chat. And then when we get to the end, we'll bring those questions up and we'll talk through those. But also remember that you're going to get a recording. And so at that point, you can refresh your memory and go through things maybe at a little bit slower pace. So, okay, I'm going to turn off my camera for a better experience for everyone while I'm demonstrating. And let's go ahead and get started. Whoops, let's turn off my camera first. So I don't always use Zoom. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys just a wee bit of a backdrop. And really first, I'd like to start out with a slide that has a lot of meaning to me as an individual who advocates on the nonprofit level, as an individual who works for Microsoft, and then also as an individual who struggled with unsupported, unidentified learning disabilities myself, and as a mother of children with learning disabilities. And this is this slide on equality versus equity. And the reason I like to start out with this is there is a misconception that equality and equity mean the same thing and that they can be used interchangeably, especially when talking about education. But the truth is, while the words are similar, they don't mean the same thing and they really can't be used interchangeably. The difference between them is crucial, especially for students who learn differently due to learning disabilities. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you today how with the learning tools that Microsoft provides, we can provide students with equitable access to their curriculum, and we can help them personalize in their learning and grow in their independence, and hopefully help them to really reach their full educational potential. And so really they can go from, whoops, where's my mouse pointer here? You can go from, the individual here on the left that maybe needs some help seeing over that fence to the individual on the right here who's using different supports to see over the fence. And that's a place where we're all at, because unfortunately, when it comes to education and different experiences, we're still navigating that fence. And until that's gone all together, we have to use different supports and different access points. And so what I'm going to do, as I said, I was going to give you a little bit of a backdrop, but we do have only 30 minutes. I'm going to go straight into talking about assistive technology and how Microsoft feels, when it comes to assistive technology on a global standpoint. And about 1 billion people globally require some level of assistive technology. It benefits everyone from those with permanent disabilities, like some of the ones listed in this slide, to those with temporary impairments, such as a broken arm, or even a situational requirement like working hands-free. And as many of you know, disabilities come in many different forms, both visible and invisible. Today, we're going to focus, and within the next webinar as well, we're going to focus on the learning differences that are invisible, and such as dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. And we're going to talk about how the inclusive design Microsoft has really helped not only those with the learning disabilities that we're going to cover, but really everyone. Just as Melissa said earlier, these tools help students, college students, individuals in their daily life, and really anyone. Much in the way that back when text was created, it was created for an inclusive population, and really those that were deaf and hard of hearing. And yet I would have a hard time finding anyone today who doesn't use text. And so that's like a lot of the tools that we have. So one more slide here before we go straight into demonstrations. And this is just to let you know when these tools came on the scene. And so in 2015, Microsoft held one of their global hackathons. And this is something where 1 week out of the year, anyone in the company can work with anyone they like on any technology they like. And so reading, font, and accessibility experts came together to look at the latest science, research, and technology, specifically on dyslexia, because it does impact the largest percentage of the population's ability to read printed word. And so they built some tools into Onenote as an add-in, and they won the hackathon that year. And then they went on to work with educators and students, and they found that not only did the tools they built to help individuals who were struggling with dyslexia help those students, but really they found that it also worked well for individuals who were English language learners, students with ADHD, emerging readers, and many more beyond that initial intention. And so I'm going to escape out here, and I like to call out what I'm doing because I know sometimes it can be hard to follow what's going on. So I'm going to go into starting out in OneNote. And so let's see, I've got a screen share, excuse me, my OneNote notebook. And bear with me 1 minute because it's not showing that we have OneNote here. So let's try this one more time. Here we go. So if we're seeing anything different than OneNote notebook, Melissa's going to let me know, but we should be looking at this screen with a purple bar across the top that says the closet creature. And so we're starting out with what I call a third grade reading example. And this is with a student I do some advocacy work for. He was diagnosed as dyslexic in third grade, and really this student is reading at a early first grade level, and so his educator is utilizing the Microsoft tools to ensure that he has access to grade level content, same as his peers. And how that's done is we can go to the Insert tab and then click on File. And then anything on your computer, so this is always like showing someone my closet, anything on your computer pops up. And really what you're looking for is saving content as a Word document or a PDF, and then popping it into the OneNote notebook in that manner. And once you've done that, you can click on the View tab and then go to Immersive Reader. Now what's happening is a skin is popping over top of the page and giving us the ability to use Immersive Reader and all of the features to give us a personal experience consuming content. So we can start out with the play button down here. Okay, still here, that's a really nice neural text to speech. And then over here, we can change our voice speed and our voice settings. Select a different voice if we prefer a female voice or maybe a male voice. And what I think is really important to note about the speed is not everyone, when consuming content auditorily, prefers to have that same speed. And some people process information at different speeds. So I love that just right there, you have your first ability to personalize that experience. And if we go over here to the right under these three icons, this is where we have greater ability to allow ourselves to personalize how we want to consume that content. So maybe it's text sizing. Again, not everyone prefers to consume content with the same font size or even the same font style. So you'll notice I can change the font style. What works really well for my son, who is dyslexic, is to increase the spacing. And his words are that if I don't have the spacing in there, I just plow through the text, and then by the time I get to the end, I don't remember what I read. So he'll say, "Mom, spacing tells my brain to slow down." And what I love here is that he doesn't have to prove a need. These tools are here, and he just automatically has access to all of them. So you'll notice that we have background colors here, and these were based off of the original Erlen overlays for a small percentage of our population that experience visual strain while reading. And these are also beneficial for individuals who are low vision. And so really, again, it could just be personal preference, or it could be a specific reason that you like to utilize these tools, but they're all right here for you to access. So let's go under our grammar options. Here we can choose to break words into syllables, all the while we're highlighting and reading the text aloud. We could also use our highlighting of parts of speech. So we've got nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, and we can highlight those. We can also show the labels above. And you'll notice we get a drop down to change the color so it doesn't conflict with the background color you've selected, or maybe our educators are asking students to highlight in specific colors. So I'm going to turn that off as we move to the next set of features. Under the book here, these are our reading preferences, and these are some of my absolute favorite features. So back in the day when I was learning to read, we had these things called reading rulers, and they blocked out a certain amount of the text so that you just had a couple lines at a time to focus. So they're built in here, and you can choose what works best for you. And then next we've got Picture Dictionary. So this is done in conjunction with our partner Boardmaker. They make the visual images for individuals who have speech and communication disorders. So these photos are going to be familiar to a certain subset of the population. So you can see here I'm clicking on words and I'm getting a photograph that pops up to help create meaning or comprehend that text. And then lastly, as if all of that wasn't wonderful on itself, last spring we added Translate. And so again, thinking about our students who are non-native speakers or even other uses that you can use this for, and I'll share that in a minute, you can go to Translate, and you've got anywhere up to 65 different languages. You can choose to translate just a word, or in this case, let's just translate the whole document. So click of a button, now we're in Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish, but if I was someone listening to Spanish, I think that's a really great accented voice. And so I think it sounds wonderful. So you'll notice that Picture Dictionary also works when we have it translated to another language. I'm sorry, as I mentioned, I don't speak Spanish, so I'm blindly clicking on words here. And then also at the top, we can toggle between both the original and the Spanish version. And so, fun little story here. I have a high school senior who he's in his last year of Spanish, and some of that content is kind of hard. And so he's finding that loading it into his OneNote notebook and having it read to him in Spanish and then toggling between the English and the Spanish version enables him to retain more content and comprehend more effectively. So we have just covered, in a nutshell, the uses of the features of Immersive Reader built into OneNote. I'm in OneNote Desktop, and there's also an online version of OneNote. So if you are using a Mac, an iPad, or a Chromebook, you might prefer the online version of OneNote because if you don't have it on your desktop, that's an easy place to get it. Online version is available for everyone and anyone, no matter what device you have. And then I'm going to show you a couple other places we can utilize Immersive Reader. So, okay, I got to stop share and then do another share. And let's go to Edge browser. And so I'm in Edge browser, and I'm going to just pull up a website that I use quite frequently when it comes to student content or content for educators. So we should be looking at Twain Tribune. And Melissa, if my screen is not appropriately sharing, please let me know. But we've got Tootsie Rolls as an article. And what I love about this website is we Lexile level content. for the student, and then also in terms of K-12 content and subjects, we have all kinds of great materials. So what's really great about this is, again, we are using Edge browser as a search engine here. And you'll notice up in the corner here, I have this Immersive Reader icon. And so when I click on that, I now have a totally different user experience. And so we've wiped out the ads on the page. I can click anywhere on the page and I have this little toolbar that drops down, and I can simply just go ahead and say, I'm going to read that aloud right now. Okay. Then I can also go back to, let me just click over here, and we've got our voice speed, our voice settings. We got a lot of different voices we can choose from here. And then if we close that, our toolbar pops up and we have all of these different options that are similar to what we showed you in OneNote. So we can increase our text sizing. We've got our text spacing, background colors. Got those reading preferences here with the line focus mode. And then we've even got our grammar tools. Now, picture dictionary is something that's being added to Edge browser currently. And so let me see here. So you will see it being rolled out across the platforms and within the next couple weeks, actually. Okay, so that's utilizing Edge browser. This is, again, a mainstream internet search engine and just utilizing the Immersive Reader. So think about all of our students right now in this period of remote learning where we're asking them to do a lot of independent learning and a lot of research online. And so we can kind of protect what I call that circuit breaker and not overload that circuit breaker by asking them to read all of these things sight reading. And we can help them by allowing them to use Edge browser and Immersive Reader and just ear read that content and just, you know, save some of that capacity. One of the other things I want to point out about Immersive Reader is it's also in a lot of third-party apps and publishers. And so right here, I've just clicked open a tab. It's Flipgrid, actually. And so if you use Flipgrid or Pear Deck or KidBlog, you're now seeing this Immersive Reader icon embedded into these apps and publishers, and you have access to using Immersive Reader again in those different places. And that's something that's growing and changing. So check it out. You know, if you have a favorite app or publisher, go ahead and see if they have Immersive Reader. Okay, moving along, because there's so many great places that you can utilize Immersive Reader. I also want to share a place that might be very familiar to you and maybe a little bit more, maybe something you might have more experience with than OneNote Notebook. So we're in Microsoft Word, and I'm in the online version. Melissa, can you confirm that we're sharing the correct page here? Okay, perfect. Okay, so here we are in online version of Microsoft Word. Again, we've got the desktop version and the online version. And we're showing the online version under the View tab again, and there's that Immersive Reader icon. So when we click on that, we have that whole user interface experience here. And you'll notice it's similar to what I was displaying in OneNote Notebook. I had a blue background. I was highlighting the, what part of speech was that? The nouns. And so the reason for that is it has memory and it syncs up. So OneNote and Word Online, they sync up with one another. And it assumes that you want to use the same settings every time you read. So I can obviously go in and change them anytime I like, but it's really nice to have that memory so that I don't have to reset everything every time I'm opening it. So we have now covered in a really short amount of time the various places that Immersive Reader is available to you. We talked about OneNote desktop and also its availability in OneNote Online. We talked about its availability in Edge browser and third-party apps and publishers, as well as Word Online. And believe it or not, if you're not already completely and totally overwhelmed, I'm going to show you one more usage for Immersive Reader and give you a little bit of homework. So I'm going to stop sharing and go into PowerPoint to share with you this last place that I think you'll find very useful, especially during this period where we have students working remotely and we want to be able to provide them every opportunity to engage with the content and their peers and access. Okay. Okay, so here we are on a slide utilizing Office Lens. For those of you who aren't familiar with Office Lens, this is a free app you can download from the App Store. And it looks just like this off to the right, this icon that I have with the dark orange and the camera ring aperture lens. So free for Android, iPhone, and iPad. I'm sorry, it's free for anyone, but it works in Android, iPhone, and iPad. Now we're going to look at a quick video of what Office Lens can do, and then I'll talk about it briefly. Okay, so you'll notice what happened there was we used Office Lens to scan text, and that was just a book. And then what it did was it scanned that text, run OCR, which is optical character recognition, and then enabled the user to use Immersive Reader right then and there on their device. And if you'll notice, they also have all of the same features that we looked at in OneNote and Word Online. So this is a really great feature when talking about individuals who, you're using an iPad or your phone, which is on our students basically all the time. So again, they used Immersive Reader. I'm pointing at that right now. You can also load content into OneNote, OneDrive, Word, or PowerPoint and have that Immersive Reader experience. So really phenomenal tool for allowing students to, in the moment, to be able to snap a photo of something, and it works with handwriting as well, and then have that reader experience. My kids and my household use the iPad all the time for this purpose. And then now I'm going to show you one more slide, our next slide, with another feature that, again, most people don't know this about Office Lens, but is really useful when we're learning anytime, but even more right now during this period of remote learning. So my kids are getting packets from school still, and I have two children who have both dyslexia and dysgraphia. And so as you can imagine, looking at this slide, it's really hard for them to get content into these smaller spaces. And so what's much easier for them is to be able to, some of the things we used to do was they could tell me verbally and I would scribe for them, but then that requires me to have time. And right now I'm trying to balance work as well. So we can use Office Lens to snap a photo and dictate. So you'll see this. So now we're using the device's dictation feature and a text box at the top there. See the large T for text? We've got a text box. We're dictating in that text box with the device's dictation feature. Our video stopped playing. I apologize. Here we go. Now we can move the text box to the appropriate place on that photograph, essentially, that we've taken. And you'll notice here, you have the option to change the color of the text box, and you also have the option to shrink or enlarge in that text box so that it fits in the appropriate place. And you can do that just using that pincher motion with your fingers. So I like to say that we saved a couple of lives with this feature in Office Lens. One, we removed the roadblock from my kids. Two, it saved me a little time and energy. And three, his educators were able to receive the finished homework assignment and read it. So there's a benefit there too. So you'll notice once you're done with it, I'm pointing to Outlook here, you can simply just email the photograph. And really what it is it's a photograph with text box overlaid on top of it. Okay, we are at the end of what I have for you today under the reading content, and now I have the ability to answer any questions you have. So I'm gonna beep out and pop up my email address as a backdrop. Okay, let's hear what anyone has to ask.
I've kind of summarized a couple of the questions, Rachel, so I'll go ahead and just go through those with you. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the question was, and I think you clarified this, is there a difference in the online version versus the desktop version as it relates to Immersive Reader and reading tools? It sounded like the only exception was online, and that was Picture Dictionary, but that's getting resolved in the next couple weeks. Is there anything else?
I'm sorry. Could you read that one more time to me, Melissa?
Yeah, no problem. Just wanting to know whether there's any difference in terms of the Immersive Reader online desktop. Yeah.
Okay, so there isn't a difference between online and desktop in if we're talking about OneNote, Notebook, or Word Online. There's no difference there. When I said there was, Picture Dictionary updates coming, that is to the Edge browser, internet. Using that as an internet feature.
Okay, so basically there's the same functionality between the online and the desktop version.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so you're able to use it, Immersive Reader, in all of the Office Suite products? Or is it only like OneNote and PowerPoint and Word? How does that work?
Yeah, it's in, Outlook, email, it's in OneNote, it's in Word, and it's moving into other areas. It's also in Microsoft Forms for anyone that uses that. So you'll see it being added across different things. It's not absolutely everywhere yet.
Is it in PowerPoint? Do you know?
It's not fully in PowerPoint yet, but it is in Teams for those of you that use that.
Yeah. Okay. And then do you know if Office Lens, is there an ability to use Office Lens with an Amazon Fire, or is it just the other tablets right now?
I don't know that. I have not tried it myself. I would check it out. I could always recommend checking it out, but I'm not entirely sure if it's available with that.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. And then I think we got those two. Oh, this is a great question because I do hear this frequently. What is the difference between the Microsoft Learning Tools Immersive Reader and Google ReadWrite? I know yours is free, but can you talk about the difference?
Yeah. And so I really can't speak as effectively to that as you'd think because I have a very biased opinion, which which will hang me up. Yes, ours is free and it's built across platforms, and you don't need to, hop into and out of multiple different things to use it. And I would personally say that, the technology behind it is a bit more superior. So I think though I probably, before I get myself in too deep into being biased, I should probably stop there. Actually, you know what I'd recommend though? If you have a student who's using Google ReadWrite, I think one of the things that, is important is for us to expose students to both different types of offerings so that they can choose what works best for them. I can say in the case of my own children, they do go to a Google school and they have Chromebooks and they have access to all of that. And I would support my children using whatever works best for them. In this case, they simply do have a preference. And what it comes down to is the auditory. They like the voices better that we provide and the different options. So if that helps.
Yeah, we had an adult learner in our community, me personally, that was working for a military contractor and so couldn't use the online supports of Google ReadWrite and needed something that was already embedded for security purposes. And so Microsoft Learning Tools was a solution for her to be able to get the support that she needed in her workplace. So that's just one other thing, I guess, that's kind of differentiates.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
And so the question is Immersive Reader free? Is OneNote free?
It's all free. You
Oh.
should not have to have, you don't have to have, pay for it. Interest, you can start an account at account.microsoft.com. And then you can also look up OneNote for teachers.com. So those are ways to get into that, but you don't need to. Both educator and student email addresses enable you that, and it's free. When they say free, it's free.
Okay. Well, great. I think we're going to wrap up. We're a few minutes over time. If you have any additional questions, you can certainly get those over to me, and we'll do our best to answer those. Like I said at the beginning of the webinar, we will have the recording posted on our website, and those of you that have registered to attend will also receive a link. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your generosity of time and expertise. And these are free webinars that Lexplore and Microsoft want to offer, that are offering to you as educators, parents, and adults in the learning environment. And one thing that you could do to benefit us would just be to follow us on social media. We would love the like and love the follow, and share these tools with all your friends and colleagues. So thank you so much. We hope you'll join us tomorrow for Writing and Math. And until then, make it a great day.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right.